Dear traveler, you're about to hear the story of a special object, a large artwork, fragile, thin, white, and suspended in the air. It's called the Great Soul, or Grande Anima in Italian, and it was created by the international artist Marcantonio. You won't find this piece in a museum or even in an art gallery. Instead, it's located in an airport, a place of life and passage. Before I tell its tale, however, here's some background. It was the spring of 2021, and a grey whale with a sputter of white spots on its nose appeared in front of the island of Ponza. A few days later, the whale was filmed in the Gulf of Naples, then further north in Anzio, and finally, a week later, right here in Fiumicino. It was a grey whale belonging to a species that does not live in the Mediterranean Sea or the Atlantic, where the last specimens were killed by the whaling industry between the 18th and 19th century. The grey whale actually comes from much further away, from the waters of the Pacific Ocean, where every year between December and February, it migrates from Alaska to California. Based on telemetric calculations taken by drone, it would seem that this specific whale, which traveled nearby Fiumicino, measured 7.7 meters. And because of its smaller size, she's thought to have been quite young, probably born in January 2020. The grey whale had never before been spotted in Italy, and her sudden appearance remains a mystery. But what does the whale have to do with the Great Soul, this artwork displayed at Fiumicino Airport? Ours is only a theory, but perhaps this mysterious and tireless cetacean, after traveling around the world, silently crossed the mind of an artist in their dreams. Perhaps the very mind of Marcantonio himself. After all, isn't that how artistic inspiration works? Indeed, the Great Soul represents a whale, or rather, the skeleton of a whale, suspended on display for the airport travelers as they come and go. It isn't a real skeleton of a whale, but a reproduction. Presented before us like a large jewel, we're able to admire the naked and fragile beauty of the carcass, its proportions, the balanced bends of its spine, its perfect swimming shape, all the way to the sharp bones that make up its gaping jaw. Marcantonio wanted to give the skeleton a life of its own by using magical and intangible light. And so he placed inside the whale several different types of lightings, fixtures, table lamps, chandeliers, lanterns, and electric signs of every style and model. Some of these were found at antique shops, and others were created specifically for the installation. Suddenly, the whale is alive once again. A festive apparition. A magical flying carousel. So bright that it seems to float. Among the bright signs placed inside the belly of the whale, there are writings such as bar, hotel, and restaurant. These writings immediately remind us of the mainland and its cities full of life and human relationships. But for some, those lights inside the belly of the whale may remind them of the glow of radiant clusters of plankton, which whales are known to feed upon at night. The Great Soul is an artwork that speaks to adults and children alike, to every human being at any stage of their lives. It is sculpture and storytelling, matter and dream. It is an invitation to meditate on two seemingly opposite dimensions. On the one hand, the mythological and mysterious world of the deep sea. On the other, the human and mundane space of our cities. Both these visions, however, are a jubilant celebration of life. Furthermore, by being placed in an airport, the whale becomes itself a symbol of travel and movement. Not only because whales migrate and are always on the move, but also because we come to identify them with the immense space of the sea and ocean, and humanity's innate longing for departure and travel. The Great Soul is 12 meters in length, 710 kilograms in weight, and is made of an iron core surrounded by a fiberglass shell. But we shouldn't be deceived by the simplicity of its clean and essential shape. Marcantonio worked alongside a large group of skilled workers for a whole year to create the Great Soul, including a 3D modeler, a set designer, a blacksmith, an electrician, a numerically controlled milling machinist, and an engineer. The great myth of the whale has followed us throughout all of history. In many versions of the fable of Pinocchio, for example, the great shark described in the book is instead presented as a whale. This is the case, for example, of the famous Disney cartoon version of 1940, where the book by Carlo Collodi seems to merge with Herman Melville's Moby Dick. In the original Adventures of Pinocchio, the monster makes its appearance in chapter 34. Pinocchio tries to swim towards the rock where the blue fairy, who has taken on the appearance of a goat, is waiting for him. But instead, he is swallowed by the creature's giant maw. His wide-open, cavernous mouth and his 3 rows of enormous teeth would have been terrifying to look at, even in a picture. A tuna, also swallowed by the whale, informs Pinocchio on the monster's gargantuan size. More than 1 kilometer long, not counting his tail. Pinocchio finds himself inside a dark, damp, jelly-like and murmuring space. In short, scary. Yet, little by little, the stomach of the whale is where an unexpected and moving encounter takes place. Here, Pinocchio finds his father Geppetto, who was gulped by the monster 2 years earlier, or, as the author Collodi puts it, swallowed as if he had been an apple tart. So, the inside of a whale is a place where the world falls on its head, yet holds great surprises. The monster hides something good inside. Perhaps this is also the meaning of Marcantonio's work. If in the past whales used to scare us, today they often appear as magical and friendly creatures. The latest discovery about whales is the beauty and power of their song, which many scientists have begun to study. But what was that gray whale, which some people nicknamed Wally, doing at Fiumicino? How did she end up on our shores all alone, while her friends were swimming and splashing elsewhere so far away? Wally had been filmed in Bacoli, in front of the Phlegrean Peninsula, playing with the bow of a rubber boat. Then, a drone filmed her from above, as she moved with wonderful elegance across the clear green waters of Majorca, Spain. According to marine biologists, Wally was exhausted and had lost her way. It's easy to understand. After all, we've all sometimes been lost and afraid. Gray whales like Wally normally live in the north of the Pacific Ocean, at a short distance from the Arctic Circle. One theory is that Wally drifted south due to the fact that the northern waters, in which she was born, are today increasingly free of ice, due to climate change. The Great Soul, therefore, is also a warm invitation to reflect on the urgent and delicate phase in which our planet has entered due to human activity. This artwork, in the end, wants to be a reflection on how nature is in our hands and depends on our care, reminding us of how the beauty of the world is fragile and depends on our behavior. The story you have just listened to was produced by Airport di Roma in partnership with Cora Media, promoting cultural and entertainment experiences within the airport.